I'm going to use the elements of stump to analyse this poem, and I'm also going to go through it stanza by stanza in quite a lot of detail. But before then, it's obviously important to hear a reading of the poem. You will, I'm sure, pick up on the fact that it is really bleak, if not despairing, when you hear it. It's worth noting that MacNeice did write this poem at the height of the Second World War, and in it he seems to be expressing his anguish and pain about what's happening in the world at that time.
I am not yet born. Oh, hear me. Let not the blood-sucking bat, or the rat, or the stoat, or the club-footed ghoul come near me. I am not yet born. Console me. I fear that the human race may with tall walls wall me, with strong drugs dope me, with wise lies lure me. On black racks rack me, in blood baths roll me. I am not yet born. Provide me with water to dandle me, grass to grow for me, trees to talk to me, sky to sing to me, birds and a white light in the back of my mind to guide me. I am not yet born. Forgive me for the sins that in me the world shall commit, my words when they speak me, my thoughts when they think me, my treason engendered by traitors beyond me, my life when they murder by means of my hands, my death when they live me. I am not yet born. Rehearse me in the parts I must play, and the cues I must take when old men lecture me, bureaucrats hector me, mountains frown at me. Lovers laugh at me, the white waves call me to folly, and the desert calls me to doom, and the beggar refuses my gift, and my children curse me. I am not yet born. Oh, hear me. Let not the man who is beast or thinks he is God come near me. I am not yet born. Oh, fill me with strength against those who would freeze my humanity, would dragoon me into a lethal automaton, would make me a cog in a machine, a thing with one face, a thing, and against all those who would dissipate my entirety, would blow me like thistledown, hither and thither, hither and thither, like water, held in the hands, would spill me. Let them not make me a stone, and let them not spill me, otherwise kill me.
If you've got a copy of the poem in front of you, you'll see at a glance that the lines are all different lengths and there's no regular rhyme scheme. In fact, there's no rhyme scheme at all. And perhaps MacNeice has used this structure, or lack of conventional structure, in order to reflect something of the chaos and disorder that exists in the world around him. It's interesting to look at stanza length because, with one exception, the stanzas get longer as the poem reaches its climax. And some people have suggested that this might reflect the growth of the fetus in the womb. All of this irregularity, though, all of this lack of formal structure, means that MacNeice has written his poem in free verse. The poem is called Prayer Before Birth, and it is written in the form of a prayer, in that each stanza is one sentence long, and that sentence is essentially a request to God. We've also got something like an incantation in the poem, a repeated line. So each stanza begins with, I am not yet born, and that statement is always followed by a plea to God, oh hear me, oh free me, and so on. You'll notice as well that each stanza finishes with the word me, and on top of that we've got repeated sentence structures in the poem, and all these things make for a very rhythmic quality. We normally associate birth with a sense of hope and optimism, new beginnings, and so on. But MacNeice is obviously giving us none of that in this poem, and maybe that's what makes it so devastating. The fact that the voice of this unborn child is so full of fear and anguish about the future is really shocking. So this is the point at which we really start to drill down into the detail of the poem and look at MacNeice's use of language, which is quite dazzling, as we'll see. I thought the best way to go about it would be to have a stanza by stanza analysis. So I'll play the first stanza now, short one, being early in the poem, and we'll discuss it afterwards before moving on through the rest of the work.
I am not yet born. Oh, hear me. Let not the blood-sucking bat, or the rat, or the stoat, or the club-footed ghoul come near me.
So the opening stanza focuses on the fearful imagination of the small child. The child is praying for protection from nighttime predators, bats, rats, stoats, and from imaginary threats as well, the club-footed ghoul. A ghoul is a spirit from folklore that lives on human flesh, so a nasty image. And adding to the sense of horror that is immediately apparent in this poem is MacNeice's use of language. There's lots of assonance throughout the poem, lots of alliteration, sharp sounds which intensify the message. So in the opening stanza we've got the bat and the rat, those short vowel sounds there, sharp and edgy. Alliteration of the heavy b sound, blood-sucking bat, adds to this. Another key device in this poem is repetition, and we have repetition right from this very first stanza, with MacNeice describing the bat or the rat or the stoat or the club-footed ghoul or. So we've got a whole list of fears there, and because of the repetition we get the feeling that this list could go on and on. This child is just full of fear. Fears are pouring out of him in a great rush, almost as if he needs to say all this before he's born, before that horrible day arrives. So repetition, very powerful in the poem, and certainly creates pace through it and tension.
I am not yet born. Console me. I fear that the human race may with tall walls wall me, with strong drugs dope me, with wise lies lure me, on black racks rack me, in blood baths roll me.
In this stanza, the poem becomes more bleak because the threat is no longer a predator, it's the human race. So we now have the theme of the poem really established. The child seeks consolation from God. Console me, he says, because he feels that the human race are out to take away his individuality by whatever means. So there are references to tall walls, to drugs that might dope him, instruments of torture, all things designed to remove the child's freedom, to turn him into something that he doesn't want to be. Use of language again is really important and adds to the essential misery of this idea. We've got heavy alliteration on buzz and does. So we've got black rats and bloodbaths, drugs and dope, lies, lure. So lots of alliteration there. And again, assonance, black, rack, those sharp vowel sounds, and wise, lies. It's a slithery, long sound, sounds manipulative, sounds difficult to get out of. So it's not just the words that we need to be listening out for in this poem, it is the way that they sound. And half the meaning is in that, really.
I am not yet born. Provide me with water to dandle me, grass to grow for me, trees to talk to me, sky to sing to me, birds and a white light in the back of my mind to guide me.
This is the only positive stanza in the whole poem, and here the child is praying to God to provide him with a natural world in which he can be sheltered from the cruelties of the human world. It's interesting that that world is personified, trees to talk to me, skies to sing to me, almost as if the child would prefer the company of nature than of human beings. He also asks in this stanza for a white light in the back of his mind to guide him. Now, that white light is obviously a metaphor for a conscience, and we see in the next stanza just how important a conscience is going to be for this child, because it seems the pressures that exist in the world from humans to lose your integrity, to become somebody else, are absolutely immense, irresistible in many ways. So it's with some desperation that the child asks for a conscience so that he can stay true to himself.
I am not yet born. Forgive me for the sins that in me the world shall commit, my words when they speak me, my thoughts when they think me, my treason engendered by traitors beyond me, my life when they murder by means of my hands, my death when they live me.
In this stanza, the child is anticipating a time when he will be completely brainwashed, and he's praying for forgiveness for the sins that he knows that he will commit when he's in that brainwashed state. There's a sinister repetition of the word they in the stanza. So they will think his thoughts. He's not going to think his thoughts. It will be they, this unknown evil that's out there. They will speak his words, and they will make him murder. So the child sees himself in the future as just a body completely controlled by something sinister and external.
I am not yet born. Rehearse me in the parts I must play, and the cues I must take when old men lecture me, bureaucrats hector me, mountains frown at me. Lovers laugh at me, the white waves call me to folly, and the desert calls me to doom, and the beggar refuses my gift, and my children curse me.
So the last stanza introduced this idea of life being essentially futile because we're just puppets on a string, manipulated into doing sinful things by somebody else, by the world, by they. This stanza picks that idea up, and we now have life presented as some kind of a performance, again suggesting a sense of meaninglessness, futility, a charade, pretend. Because here the child is asking God to help him rehearse the parts that he must play, as if life is just a play, no more real than that. And he anticipates having to play some really difficult parts because he's looking ahead to a time when everybody, even his children, turn on him. The poem does seem to become more and more desperate, more and more anguished as it develops, and we see that through the use of personification. Early in the poem, nature is personified so that it's presented almost as company for the child. But in this stanza, again, personification is used, but now nature is one of the threats that are out there. So mountains frown at him, deserts represent doom, they call him to doom, and white waves to folly. So the natural world seems to have been corrupted by mankind's evil as well, and there's simply no escape.
I am not yet born. Oh, hear me. Let not the man who is beast or thinks he is God come near me.
As I said when we were looking at structure, the stanzas in this poem become longer as it works to its climax, and the unborn child seems to be pouring out more and more worries and fears in this breathless rush of a poem. That means that this stanza, which is only three lines long, comes as a bit of a shock, and certainly its shortness within the longer stanzas emphasises it. So we know that MacNeice has got a big idea here that he wants to reinforce, and he's talking about the need for God to protect him from the man who thinks that he is God, man also referred to as beast. So that suggests the devil, and of course the man who thinks that he is God could also be Hitler, making decisions about who should live and who should not live.
I am not yet born. Oh, fill me with strength against those who would freeze my humanity, would dragoon me into a lethal automaton, would make me a cog in a machine, a thing with one face, a thing, and against all those who would dissipate my entirety, would blow me like thistledown, hither and thither, hither and thither, like water, held in the hands, would spill me.
It's clear now that we're dealing here with a powerful and passionate anti-war poem, because this stanza in particular is all about the dehumanising effect of war, how people are dragooned into lethal automaton. That's a reference to people becoming soldiers, becoming killing machines with no humanity, no control over themselves, simply cogs in a machine. He also uses the word thing and repeats it, thing. Um, that's what soldiers are, things, not people anymore. People couldn't kill each other. So this is a desperate plea, this penultimate stanza, for God to stop him becoming a soldier, for God to give him the will to resist those pressures and not to be blown around hither and thither by leaders and by forces external to him.
Let them not make me a stone, and let them not spill me. Otherwise, kill me.
So that is the poem's stark conclusion, that if God can't stop him being turned into a stone, an unfeeling thing, or water, something with no substance of its own, then he would rather be killed. But there are a few messages in this poem, all of them very bleak. MacNeice is arguing that the world is an evil and corrupt place. Even nature seems to have been corrupted by it, that people are not free, and that this unborn child will commit sinful acts because he will be powerless against the corrupting forces around him. Underpinning that, of course, is the Second World War, and MacNeice is making a statement as well about the dehumanising effect of war, the fact that people are turned into mere cogs in a machine, not people anymore, but things capable of the most inhumane actions. And the poem really is a protest against that and a plea for individual freedom. Of course, it's already been established that this poem is written from the point of view of an unborn child, but perhaps just to reflect on that, I think that the perspective is one which makes the subject matter even more harrowing, because we have the juxtaposition of this innocence of the unborn child against the horror of war, and that's quite an unsettling contrast. Also, the fact that the child is actually praying for forgiveness for sins that he hasn't even committed yet adds to the bleak nature of the poem, and this idea that in the end we're powerless.